Tell me if this sounds familiar. You write some amazing lyrics without an instrumental, only to later try to rap those lyrics over an instrumental, and now it sounds like utter and complete trash. If that sounds familiar to you, don't worry, because you're not alone. This is something a lot of rappers struggle with, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 techniques that would allow you to take any lyrics and make them sound amazing over any instrumental. So without further ado, let's get it! What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Cole Mize with ColeMizeStudios.com, where it's my main goal to help you be a better rapper now. Before we jump into today's lesson, just want to give you a quick heads up. I'm going to be using a free tool that I created in today's lesson called Bar Sheets, which helps us structure rap lyrics to music. And that's something I created for all of you guys and gals out there. It's a really awesome tool. A lot of my students have been really enjoying. And if you want to get access to that, you can just click the link in the video description to get your free copy. Okay, let's dive right on into it. Now, what I've done is I've written some lyrics completely without any type of instrumental. And I'm going to first rap that for you over an instrumental to let you see how bad it's going to sound. And throughout the course of this tutorial today, I'm going to show you the 3 major tips how to take any lyrics such as these and make them sound amazing. And for today's lesson, I'm going to be using an instrumental that I produced called Fairy Tales, which if you would like to purchase, you can get access to that by clicking the link in the video's description. Let's get it. All right, now here we go. This is going to sound rough, okay? But remember, this is how the sausage is made. Let's get it. At first I marveled at these lyrics I wrote because my pen read complete carnage. But once I try to rap them over an instrumental, they sound like some weak garbage. My spidey senses tell me if I wish to untarnish this issue I have garnered, I need to harness these techniques to complete what I've started. All right, it's all over the place. Now let's talk about how we can tighten this thing on up. Okay, my first tip to making lyrics sound amazing over an instrumental that you did not write those lyrics to is start off by scatting and placing the rhyme around the 4th beat. It's important to keep track of your rhyme scheme so that you can place your rhymes in the same spot within one bar to the next. This is what causes your rhyme scheme to sound really tight and intentional to the listener. It's common for rappers to place at least one rhyme scheme on the 4th beat of each bar. And the reason we do this is because it's right on top of a snare usually. Remember, snares typically land on the 2nd and 4th beat of each bar. So if we place a rhyme on that 4th beat on top of a snare, we can also get a little bit louder on that rhyme because the snare is there, which is really loud. And we get a little bit louder with our delivery on that rhyme, and it creates like almost like a 3D effect, like it's popping off the page, if you will, audibly to the listener. So it really makes that rhyme stick out, and it's really saying to the listener, hey, look at me, I'm a rhyme scheme. And with that being said, you can place your rhymes anywhere within a bar. Okay, just make sure if you want your rhyme scheme to sound tight, keep track of where that rhyme is placed and try to place your next rhyme on the next bar in a very similar location so it sounds very tight and intentional, if that's what you're going for. Okay, now I'm just going to scat and start placing the rhymes around the 4th beat. And you also may hear me say some of the other words leading up to that rhyme as well, as I go ahead and begin to start placing these lyrics where they need to be in order to sound good within each bar. So let's get it. Blasted when the rapper complete carnage. Feasted when the rapper so weak garbage. How to when the flapper that I have garnered. Feasted when the blappers that I have started. Okay, tip number 2. Now that we have a general idea of where our rhymes can be placed and how it can sound, it's time to start filling in the rest of that scat with the actual lyrics that we've written. And when you do this, you're going to quickly begin to sense how close your current lyrics will match the cadence that you've come up with. You'll get a sense of if you have too many words, too many lyrics, too many words in your lyrics, or maybe not enough lyrics to match the cadence that you're going for. And if you feel like you have too many words, one easy way to fix that potentially is begin rapping your verse earlier. So there's typically 3 ways that we'll begin rapping every bar. We'll typically either start on the 1st beat of that bar, we'll maybe come in after the 1st beat, or we'll lead into the 1st beat. So technically coming in during this section before that verse and lead into that 1st beat of that bar. So if you have a lot of lyrics, That's one way you can kind of play that off and like create a little bit more space. If you don't have enough lyrics and you need to fill in more space, but you're not necessarily trying to add a lot more lyrics, you can just add a pause at the beginning of the bar. So do the opposite, create space, add pausing. So you could pause on the first beat of the bar and lead into the second beat, or even pause for the first and second beat and lead into the third beat. So in this case, with these lyrics, I know I have way more lyrics than I need. So I'm going to first start off by tweaking where I begin rapping these lyrics at. I'm going to lead into the first beat of the bar and then just keep scatting around it and start kind of playing around and filling in words, and then we'll tweak it from there. Let's get it. At first I marveled at these lyrics I wrote because my pen read complete carnage, but once I rapped them over an instrumental, they sound like some weak garbage. My spidey senses tell me if I wish to untarnish this issue I've garnered, I need to harness these techniques to complete what I've started. Okay, it's still really rough. There's still too many lyrics there, but at least in the very beginning, I shifted where I began, so that's giving me a little bit more space. But now I need to take away a lot of stuff. I need to get rid of some of these extra syllables that I don't need, which leads us to tip number 3, and that's compromising. Now, after auditioning different cadences while you're scatting, that may get you close to your lyrics sounding good over the instrumental, but it's also still very common for you to still need to do more work to make them all sound good together. And that's when it's time to start compromising the lyrics. And what I mean by compromising the lyrics is changing the lyrics, okay? But not in a way that changes the meaning of what you say. We want to preserve what's being said, but we need to look at alternative ways on how we can say it, but maybe by using less words in this particular situation. In this case, we have too many lyrics. But in a situation where you don't have enough lyrics, you could also reverse that and see how you can say the same thing, but maybe by using a little bit more. So what we need to do in this situation is we need to remove some syllables, but retain the meaning of what's being said. So right now we'll continue to scat as we try to fill in the lyrics, and while trying to pinpoint like what parts of the bars are giving us problems. And then we'll start adding or removing syllables or words to start making our lyrics and our cadence synchronize with each other a lot more better. And don't get discouraged when you're doing this if your lyrics and your cadences doesn't sound amazing like within just a few minutes. This is the problem solving part of being a rapper. Okay, I like to consider it like the engineer, the problem solver. This can sometimes take, depending on how complex your rhyme schemes are, how complex your flow is, how much stuff you have going on, it's not uncommon for just 4 bars to take anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes to perfect. Remember, this is like solving a puzzle. Okay, this is where we're tweaking and massaging and stuff, the words and the cadences, so everything plays well together. So with that in mind, I've already worked these lyrics out, so you don't have to sit there and watch me create this and perfect it. I've already done that at this point, and then I'm going to talk to you about what I've done. So let me let you hear the changes I've made. So the lyrics that you see here, basically, just to keep it simple, everything you see that's highlighted red is stuff that I removed. Anything that you see as green is what I've added. Let me let you hear what that sounds like. At first I marveled at these lyrics, my pen read complete carnage, but when I rap them over a beat, they sound like some weak garbage. My spidey senses say to untarnish the issues garnered, I must harness these techniques to complete what I have started. Okay, so as you can see here demonstrated in red, I removed a good bit of lyrics. So on that first line, instead of saying, at first I marveled at these lyrics I wrote because my pen read complete carnage, I can say the same thing without I wrote because. So I removed that, and now it says, at first I marveled at these lyrics, my pen read complete carnage. It can pretty much be implied that I wrote these lyrics. I don't necessarily have to say that I wrote these lyrics. At first I marveled at these lyrics, my pen read complete carnage. All right, then I removed once and try to. Okay, the reason I removed once is because of the C or the S sound, depending on how you think about it. I removed that because that's a long, like 1-syllable word. When I could say a little bit faster. And remove try to, because I didn't have to have those words there to still say the same thing. And then on the next line, an instrumental, I said a beat, because beat in hip hop is slang for an instrumental. So an instrumental is 5 syllables. I removed that and said a beat. So I changed that off with just, I can say the same thing in only 2 syllables. So I say now, But when I rap them over a beat, they sound like some weak garbage. Instead of saying, but once I try to rap them over an instrumental, they sound like some weak garbage. So again, saying the same thing in much fewer words. And then on the final line here, I originally said, my spidey senses tell me if I wish to untarnish this issue I have garnered, I need to harness these techniques to complete what I have started. So I removed tell me if I wish and just said say instead of that. So my spidey senses say to untarnish instead of my spidey senses tell me if I wish to untarnish. So again, saying the same thing there in fewer words. And then I replace this issue I have garnered. I replace that with the issues garnered. And then I removed I need to, and instead I chose to use I must. So I just eliminated one syllable. So the issues garnered, I must harness these techniques to complete what I've started. So there's a lot of shaving off of words here. Again, the main thing here is when you're doing this, you don't want to lose the message of what you're saying. Okay, here's a bonus tip for you. If you're still trying to create more space in a bar because you have too many lyrics, try shaving certain words off. For example, instead of saying breaking, say breaking. Or instead of saying the, say the. Remember, all syllables are not equal. They're not all the same length. If you're just counting syllables, it's not going to give you an accurate measurement of how long those syllables really are. It can give you an idea, a general idea, but it doesn't really say how long those syllables are because each syllable is a different length based upon how long you have to hold a syllable in order to enunciate it correctly. For example, the one syllable word strike is longer than the one syllable word no. So if you need to create a little bit more space, see if there's any words that you can possibly shave a little bit off by saying them slightly different. For example, in my last bar, the word these was a bit of a tongue twister due to the S sound coming right behind harness. So I changed it to the, and it made it much easier to say. Let's listen to how that sounds. At first I marveled at these lyrics, my pen wrecked complete carnage. But when I rap them over a beat, they sound like some weak garbage. My spidey senses say to untarnish the issues garnered, I must harness the techniques to complete what I have started. Now let's take a look at the lyrics before and after I edited them. Again, everything in red is what I removed and everything in green is what I added. At first I marveled at these lyrics I wrote because my pen wrecked complete carnage. But once I try to rap them over an instrumental, they sound like some weak garbage. My spidey senses tell me if I wish to untarnish this issue I have garnered, I need to harness these techniques to complete what I've started. At first I marveled at these lyrics, my pen wrecked complete carnage. But when I rap them over a beat, they sound like some weak garbage. My spidey senses say to untarnish the issues garnered, I must harness the techniques to complete what I have started. Now take notice of a couple things. Look at how many words I was able to remove without changing the meaning of what I was saying. And also pay attention to how the placement of my words changed for each bar as I dialed in the cadence and lyrics to complement each other while preserving the placement of my end rhyme scheme that began with carnage. Also, I've structured my lyrics so that each line represents each bar in the instrumental. So for example, the first syllable of each line is what lands on the first beat of each bar. Structuring your lyrics like this while you're editing them to fit the instrumental better can be very helpful so that you can have a visual of how everything is landing within each beat, which removes a lot of the mystery of why your lyrics sound the way they do, and it can make the editing process a lot easier for you. If you still find it a bit confusing to remember which of your syllables land on each beat of each bar, I created a really helpful tool called bar sheets, which look like this. And you can learn more about how to use these in this dedicated video tutorial I did called How to Use Bar Sheets. I'll also place a link in the video's description. And again, you can get your own very copy of these bar sheets for free by clicking the link in the video's description as well. So there you go. I hope this video was helpful to you. Again, my name is Cole Mize with ColeMizeStudios.com. And always remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules. There's only techniques. Peace. Hey man, you see that subscribe button right there? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Oh, and don't forget the bell icon. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Hey, I know you see that like button, right? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. And look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, today I'm gonna kill it.